morning, friends. Greetings and welcome to The Bright Side, your nutritional program dedicated to the understanding of the vast world of nutrition and nutritional supplementation. I'm your host, Pharmacist Ben, nutritional pharmacist from Boulder, Colorado. I use nutritional supplements in my practice, where other healthcare practitioners use toxic pharmaceutical drugs and sometimes deadly medical procedures. If you suspect that there are natural nutritional roads to your vitality and health and well-being and to addressing your health challenges, whatever they may be, but you don't know where to begin, you have come to the right place. As you listen to The Bright Side every day, you are more and more in control of your body, you are more and more knowledgeable, and you know you can overcome any health challenge. That's why we're here every day on The Bright Side, helping clear up the sometimes confusing world of nutrition and nutritional supplementation. Over the last 29 years of practicing pharmacy, I have seen drug-free recoveries from diabetes, hypertension, obesity, skin diseases like psoriasis, eczema, rosacea, acne, digestive ailments, autoimmune issues of all kinds, recoveries that by the standards of modern medicine can only be called a miracle, but what is in the world of biology, standard operating procedure. Because the human biological system is a healing system, a regenerating system. It is designed divinely to heal and renew itself on a moment-to-moment basis, and while some folks may call that healing system a miracle, it really is just the way the body works. If you have questions about health or nutrition or prescription drugs, we can help you. 844-236-6010 is our number. If you've got a health challenge you're dealing with, or a loved one has a health challenge they're dealing with, and you want to wean yourself off your meds, or you want a good nutritional protocol or dietary strategy to help deal with whatever you're dealing with, whatever your issue is, 844-236-6010. 844-236-6010 is our number on The Bright Side. If you want to purchase any of the longevity products you hear advertised on the program, recommended on the program, you can head over to benfuchsarchives.com, brightsideben.com, criticalhealthnews.com, or pharmacistben.com. The last two are my blogs, which we update regularly with news stories, as well as blog posts, criticalhealthnews.com and pharmacistben.com. And if you're interested in checking out our Truth treatment products, including our retinol 5% gel, or our Truth serum, or our omega-6 healing cream, or our Truth balm, all made with big doses of vitamin C. Retinol 5% is made with as much retinol, more retinol than you're going to find anywhere. I designed it to be equally potent, have the same strength as prescription strength Retin A 0.05%. There's about 100 times difference between retinol and retinoic acid. Retinol is the most important, most powerful over-the-counter form of vitamin A. Retinoic acid is the most powerful prescription form. It's the most powerful form of vitamin A. And most retinol products that you get in the department stores or salons or on the internet are going to have very trace amounts of retinol, because it's pretty aggressive stuff, and nobody wants to mess around with putting a lot of retinol on a product. You may find a 1% strength somewhere, or maybe rarely a 2% strength in a doctor's office, perhaps, but most over-the-counter preparations are going to be 0.1 to 0.5% in that ballpark, which is a fraction of what you need, which is why I made my retinol 5.0%. You're not going to find that concentration anywhere, and you'll know when you put it on, which is why I only recommend that you use it once or twice a week. You will peel, and you will have beautiful skin when that skin is done peeling, guaranteed. Not because of me, because of you, because of your skin, because it's in the nature of the skin to respond to vitamin A and vitamin C in this way. Anyway, you can find out all about it at truthtreatments.com, truthtreatments.com. All right, we're talking about fats, fatty hormones, and the skin hormones. The skin makes its own hormones. Skin cells make their own hormones. Skin cells make stress hormones. Skin cells make hormones of inflammation. Skin cells make cortisol. Skin cells make testosterone. We always talk about cortisol being in the adrenal glands, stress hormones coming out of the adrenal glands, but guess what? Your skin makes it too. Skin cells make it too. This is where eczema comes from. This is where psoriasis comes from. This is where irritations come from. This is where dermatitis comes from. Local cortisol. This is why when you cut yourself, it immediately gets red. Boom, cortisol. Well, cortisol comes out a little later. First thing that happens is nitric oxide, a few other things. But eventually, cortisol is going to come out, and that's responsible for much of the effects that we see on the skin in terms of eczema and rashes and dermatitis. Skin cells make their own hormones, especially the fatty hormones, testosterone and cortisol in particular. Fatty fatty hormones are incredibly important because in order for you to have enough of them or have them in the right balance or have your fatty hormones be working correctly, you got to be eating fats. You got to get the fats from somewhere, and for the most part, they're coming in from dietary fats. Fats are vital, and the body is designed to crave and thrive on them, which is why a fat-free diet or low-fat diet is so silly. Of course, you don't want the wrong kinds of fats. That doesn't mean you don't want any. Fats are technically called lipids. And I always want to say fats because lipid sounds so sciencey, but really, that's what it is. They're lipids. When you hear the word lipid, it's a fat. Lipid equals fats. We'll use them interchangeably here. Most scientists will say lipids. Lipophilic means fat-loving. Philadelphia is the city of brotherly love. Philosophy is the love of wisdom. Like philosophy, philosophy, the love of wisdom. Philo means loving. Lipophilic means fat-loving. Lipophilic, fat-loving. That's oil-soluble to the average person, to the regular person. Oil-soluble, fat-loving, oil-soluble, lipophilic. These are substances that dissolve in oil, and they're distinct from the ones that dissolve in water. And knowing that distinction is key if we're going to assess how products work. If we're going to make good buying decisions, we got to understand this key distinction. We got to know what a hydrophilic substance does, why you need it, and we got to know what a lipophilic substance does and why you need it. Hydrophilic nutrients, those are your B's and C's and electrolytes. They're easy for the body to absorb, and they don't require as much special considerations in the digestive tract as the lipophilic nutrients. Lipophilic ones are much trickier for the body to absorb. They require more complicated processing. When we ingest hydrophilic nutrients, whether we're doing it in our Beyond Tangy Tangerine, which is an incredible, with a capital I, source of hydrophilic nutrients, water-soluble nutrients. In fact, with the water, I would venture to say, I'm sitting here thinking, I can't think of a better supplement, a more powerful, more important supplement for hydrophilic nutrients than watery Beyond Tangy Tangerine, the combination of the powder plus the water. Hydrophilic nutrients go right to work. They go into the stomach, into the intestine. They cross over into the blood from the intestine very easily. That's why you notice your results so quickly from Beyond Tangy Tangerine and water-soluble nutrients in general. Vegetable juices, by the way, are another great source of water-soluble nutrients. And soups, too, for that matter. Vegetable soups. And chicken soup, bone soup. You get quick results from these hydrophilic nutrients, and they're electrical too. The water, the combination of the water plus the electrical carrying property of the B vitamins, vitamin C, and the electrolytes makes these liquids electrical. You're drinking electricity. When you drink bone soup, you're drinking electricity. When you drink your Beyond Tangy Tangerine, you're drinking electricity. You see what I'm saying here? You're drinking electricity. Do you think that's important for an electrical, biological system like us? Yes, it's unbelievably important. And I don't care if you believe in supplements, you like supplements, you think this is all crazy, you need the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. I've seen people take their husbands off Beyond Tangy Tangerine because the doctor told them to. Completely not taking into account this hydrophilic, the nature of hydrophilic nutrients, because they didn't understand, their doctor didn't. The BTT is an incredibly important supplement. Whether you believe in supplements or whether you're using supplements or not, get on the BTT. You think I'm kidding you? Try it. That's because of the electrical nature of these hydrophilic nutrients in combination with the ease that the body utilizes these things in. Unfortunately, and this is important too, and this is also one of the reasons you want to make a distinction between hydrophilic and lipophilic, why it's important to make a distinction. Not only are your hydrophilics utilized by the body quickly and absorbed quickly, and they go through the digestive system into the blood quickly, but also they're excreted quickly. They're eliminated quickly. That's why people, they do too much of the BTT, it has a kind of laxative effect because they're eliminated quickly, but your body doesn't use it, it just dumps out. And that's why deficiencies are so common. And that, my friends, is a huge health problem, especially if you're dealing with electrical health issues like with the brain and the heart. I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side. We'll be back after this. All right, right, we're back on the bright side. Got lines open for you. 844-236-6010 is our number. If you have questions about the longevity products, health, nutrition, prescription drugs, skin health issues, or if you just want to contribute to our conversation, or if you have a success story you'd like to share with us, we love hearing those. 844-236-6010 is our number. We'll get to your calls here in the bottom of the hour. If you want to purchase any of the longevity products you hear advertised on the program or recommended on the program, please go to brightsideben.com, criticalhealthnews.com, or pharmacistben.com. And also, if you want to join the Brightside Ben team, love to have you on our team. Call 866-735-2470 or sign up right off the website. And, of course, if you're interested in checking out our skin health products, truthtreatments.com, truthtreatments.com. All right, so understanding distinctions is always important. We talk about that all the time. Distinctions, making distinctions. We distinguish microinflammation from macroinflammation. We distinguish cells from tissues. We distinguish micronutrients from macronutrients. And one of the most important of all distinctions is water-soluble versus fat-soluble. Understanding distinctions is critical for understanding anything in life, making distinctions. Some people don't even know that they have power over their lives because they never distinguish mind from matter. So we don't distinguish mind from matter. We think everything is just one big thing and we don't have any control over our lives. But when you distinguish mind from matter, you know the mind is distinct from matter. And you have a mind that can then be applied to matter. That's a very powerful distinction to make in your life. And a lot of people don't make it. Probably in this, you guys listening to this program make it, but most people don't. Hydrophilic, lipophilic, major distinction when it comes to nutrition. Hydrophilic nutrients are absorbed very easily. They're also excreted easily. That's important because it means it's very easy to be deficient in your B complex and vitamin C and electrolytes, even if you're supplementing once a day. Even if you're supplementing once a day, because of the rapid excretion of these things, you can become deficient. At least not necessarily deficient to the point where you die, but deficient to the point where you're not functioning or firing on all cylinders. This is especially key for the brain and the heart. And the good news is, because they're absorbed readily, brain and heart issues improve quickly. Quickly. Anybody who's dealing with Alzheimer's themselves, or with a mom or dad or a patient, you need to get them on the BTT, the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. You will notice results dramatically because electrical nutrients or hydrophilic nutrients are electrical nutrients and they're absorbed quickly. Same with the heart and with blood pressure issues. And, oh, by the way, this one's really important. Your B's and your C and your electrolytes help you process sugar. They're major anti-diabetic nutrients. Major. And you can throw in chromium and vanadium, which are also water-soluble. At least have a degree of water solubility. For Alzheimer's, for diabetes, for heart issues, for exercise issues, for learning, for students. If you're taking a test, or if you're taking lots of tests, before your test, do some BTT. While you're taking your test, do BTT. If you're studying, while you're studying, do Beyond Tangy Tangerine. The electrical nature of the B complex, vitamin C, and the electrolytes means you're going to get, number one, quick action, and number two, because they're water soluble, you're going to get rapid utilization. Now, understanding hydrophilic is important, but so is understanding lipophilic, fat soluble. That means your fat soluble nutrients are your EFAs, your fatty vitamins, DEAK, D-E-A-K, DEAK. And then plant nutrients, flavonoids and carotenes. Plant nutrients are fatty, or I shouldn't say that. There are many fatty nutrients in plants, even though they don't look very fatty sometimes. Cucumber doesn't look fatty, but in that peel, you've got fatty nutrients. And just like the hydrophilic nutrients are easy for the body to absorb, or unlike as opposed to the hydrophilic nutrients, which are easy to absorb, the fatty nutrients are difficult to absorb. Those require a fully functioning fat absorption system. You need a gallbladder, has to be working correctly. You need your liver, has to be working correctly. You need the intestine, has to be working correctly. You need the pancreas. And we know 50,000, how can this be? 50,000 gallbladders. Maybe it's more. It's 500,000. It's a ridiculous amount of gallbladders are taken out of Americans every year because they're clogged. Your gallbladder's clogged, we're going to take it out. Would you take out your engine if it was clogged? mean, it's the same logic. Because it's clogged, we're going to take it out. Now, if you're in misery, pain, horrible pain, that's one thing. But without a gallbladder, you're not going to be able to absorb DEEK, EFAs, flavonoids, or carotenes as effectively. Same with the liver. 33% of Americans have fatty liver disease. Same with if you have Crohn's disease or irritable bowel syndrome or ulcerative colitis or any of these things. Pancreatic insufficiency. Or if you're diabetic, you're stressed out, have a stressed out pancreas. You can dose, unlike the hydrophilic nutrients, which you should be doing throughout the day, because remember, you're going to lose them and you're going to be deficient, or at least functionally deficient, by the end of the day. The EFAs and the fatty vitamins, those you can do once a day. They're stored. You can skip days. Those are stored. You don't need to spread them out as much. See how understanding this distinction is important. If you understood what we just talked about in these first two segments, you now have a powerful tool at your disposal that you didn't have before you started listening to this program about how to use your nutritional supplements. Your fatty ones you could use once a day. Your water-soluble ones you want to do them throughout the day. And this distinction is especially important in the world of skincare. Hydrophilic, water-loving, water-soluble nutrition or ingredients versus fat-loving, lipophilic ingredients in skincare products. I got an email today from a lady who wanted to know about a wrinkle cream that she read an ad for. It's called Valere. I don't like calling out companies, but this one needs calling out. Valere, V-A-L-A-R-E, or E-R-E maybe, Valere. I think it's V-A-L-E-R-E, wrinkle cream. Now, to a formulator like myself, you can immediately see it's a scam. But to the average person, it's got all the buzzwords, it's got all the marketing, it's much more difficult to see, especially if you don't know this distinction between hydrophilic and lipophilic. If you don't know this distinction, it becomes much more difficult to cut through the dishonesty, through the scammery, in skincare, in everything really, but in skincare, as we're discussing it now. That's because wrinkles are the observable effect, the visible effect of something that's happening deep in the skin, not the surface. We don't, and we're not told to, nobody teaches us, and commercials certainly aren't going to tell you, that there's another distinction between the surface of the skin and the lower layers. This is another important distinction. The skin is made up of layers. The surface of the skin is distinct from the lower layers. The surface of the skin is dead. And that's where your Valere is working. And most skincare products are working. In order to get through to the lower layers, you've got to have clever formulations. You've got to know how to formulate in order to get to the lower layers of the skin. That's because the surface is fatty. The surface of our skin is lipophilic. The surface of our skin is basically covered with a coating of oil. An oil-soluble material. That makes perfect sense when you think of the fact that we're 60 to 70% water or more in some places. How can we, that's an amazing idea, by the way, how can we possibly be 2/3 or more water? We're like puddles sloshing about. How could this even possibly be? You know why? It's really cool why. And think about it. How is it that water can somehow form a solid body? That's some amazing stuff. 2/3 water, 1/3 fat. That's basically what we are. How does that form a solid body? Well, it's really interesting. I'll tell you what that is when we come back from our break, and then we'll take your phone calls as well. 844-236-6010 is our number. I'm Pharmacist Ben. You are listening to The Bright Side. Okay, we are back on The Bright Side. I'm Pharmacist Ben. 844-236-6010 is our number. We'll get your calls here in just a moment. So if you're on hold, hang tight. If you have questions about the longevity products, formulations, skincare, or if you want to contribute to the conversation or have a success story, 844-236-6010 is our number. All right, so a couple things I want to just finish up here. I know I always leave things hanging, and I try not to, but in the interest of tying up all our loose ends before we get to our calls, before we went to break, we were talking about how the body's 60 to 70% water, yet we're solid somehow, right? It doesn't look like we're water, but we're 2/3 water. That's pretty amazing. So what is it that accounts for that? Well, what accounts for it is the kind of water that we're made up of. We're not made up of the same kind of water. Water is not water is not water. You know, like a rose is a rose is a rose. That's not true with water. For a long time, we thought that. But biological water is different from ordinary water. That's why you don't fix your dry skin by drinking more water. Because the water in your skin is a special kind of water. The water in your body is a special kind of water. It's called bound water or clustered water. This is the water that's inside a cell. The water inside a cell or also inside connective tissue has a certain magnetic nature that allows it to stick together. It's sticky water. Yes, sticky water. It's kind of like solid water in a way. How cool is that? We're made up not of water, but of solid water. Water that has an electrical nature that is different from the electrical nature of ordinary water. I'm not going to get into the chemistry of it, but it's pretty darn cool. It's called bound water or solid water or sticky water, and that's why we're not puddles sloshing about even though we're 2/3 water. Now, as far as wrinkles go, as far as this February wrinkle cream goes, if you understand the distinction between fat-soluble and water-soluble, you understand that fat-soluble activities, building activity, or fat-soluble activities are building activities. They're the kind of activities that require time, require building. A wrinkle cream takes time to work. It will not work instantly like February says it works. You can immediately tell it's a scam because they tell you you're going to get instant results. You can't get instant results from a wrinkle product because it takes time for fat-soluble material to make their way down to the cells. They're migrating downwards through the layers, and it takes time for them to initiate the building activity. Wrinkle formation is in the lower levels of the skin. To take care of wrinkles, you need to have ingredients that migrate down. You have to have ingredients that will be used by the wrinkle fiber-making cells or the anti-wrinkle fiber-making cells, and all of this takes days or weeks or months. Usually the good results, if you have a really good skincare product, you're going to notice that your results get better and better over time. You're going to notice that you got really good results in a couple of days or a week or so. You're going to notice that you get amazing results in a month, and you're going to notice that as the months go by, your skin looks better and better. That's how you know you have a quality product. You can get some quick instant results, but those instant results are basically going to be softening. If you have a really cleverly designed product, you can get instant results that affect the circulation of the skin, and that's a good thing, but you're not going to get anti-wrinkle benefits until days and weeks and even months have progressed. If a company is selling you a product that says instant wrinkle reduction, you know you got a scam because you can't reduce wrinkles instantly because it takes time. All right, so much more to talk about here. Let's see. But a couple cool studies I want to tell you about. We'll tell you about that when we come back from our next break. Let's hit our phones. 844-236-6010 is our number. How about we go to Grace in Miami Beach. Greetings, Grace. What's going on?
Good morning, Mrs. Ben.
Yes, ma'am. How you doing?
Fine. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
I have a question regarding hearing loss. I noticed like 2 to 3 weeks ago, my left ear is like a it's not a hum, but it's like almost like a white noise started in my left ear.
Yeah. That's very common. Tinnitus, it's called. How old are you, Grace? Yeah, that sounds like tinnitus.
46.
It's a little early for tinnitus to show up in a degenerative sense. Got diabetes or any blood sugar issues or any other health stuff going on?
No, not that I'm aware of. I'm not on any kind of medication.
Not on any medicine?
No.
All right, well, something's going on. That's a sign the body's breaking down. That's an inflammatory condition. Tinnitus, by the way, for everybody out there, and it's a big problem, and doctors tell you they're mystified. They don't know what causes it. It's nothing more than the same thing that causes everything else. It's inflammation and a breakdown of the tissue in the body. Probably involves inflammation of tissue that's now causing a problem with the nerves, an inflammatory condition that's affecting the nerves. Hearing is a nervous issue. It's a nerve issue. It's a neurological issue. How we hear is just another one of the most amazing things, another one of the incredible ways the body does its business. Sound waves are turned into electrical energy. That electrical energy is then turned into chemical energy. That chemical energy is then turned into electrical energy, and you hear a sound. And all that occurs instantaneously, and it requires a lot of chemistry. It requires a lot of stuff. I mean, we take it for granted, but there's a lot of stuff going on when you hear something. If those nerves are stimulated from something that's not airwaves coming out of somebody's vocal cord, does that make sense? If those nerves are just being stimulated for some other reason that's not air pressure waves coming out of my voice, out of my vocal cords, you're going to hear a sound. You follow?
Yes.
The nerves in there that are responsive to pressure, from typically air pressure from a voice or a sound, are now responding inappropriately. There's something that's causing them to respond. That means there's a pressure in there. That means there's an artificial pressure, not a voice pressure, which is what it's supposed to be perceiving, but a pushing pressure. I call that inflammation. Okay? You got an inflammatory condition in that area that's processing sound. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Now, if you had that inflammation in your joints, you'd say it was arthritis. If you had that inflammation in your brain, you'd say it was Alzheimer's disease. If you had that inflammation in your big toe, you'd call it neuropathy. If you had that inflammation in your skin, you'd call it eczema. If you had that inflammation anywhere, you'd go to a specialist to handle that inflammation. You don't need a specialist. It's inflammation. You follow me?
Yes.
It's microinflammation, however, not the kind of inflammation that's in your eye when you get punched in the eye or what's in your knee when you sprain your knee. It's microscopic inflammation. It's the kind of inflammation you don't see. So the way you deal with it is the way you deal with all inflammatory issues, which you might as well say is all health challenges. And that's number one, clean the blood. Figure out what is what's getting into the system that's causing that inflammation. And that means food. That means you always focus on food first and digestion. And you know how to do that, I'm sure, because we talk about it every day. Second thing you don't want to do is stabilize the blood sugar. That's why I asked you if you're diabetic. Diabetes and tinnitus go hand in hand because sugar represents a blood toxin after a certain amount. And that will initiate an inflammatory response. So do all your sugar stuff. Restrict your intake of sugars, and then use sugar metabolizing nutrients, chromium, vanadium, the B vitamins, all the ones we talked about. Then, thirdly, you want to make sure that you're calming the body down because under conditions of stress, inflammation, it'll be much harder to reduce inflammation. Under conditions of hypoxia, low oxygen, and there's a very important relationship between stress and low oxygen. Do you know your thyroid gland is one of it may be the major regulator of your respiration, and it's a big circle because not only does your thyroid regulate respiration, but respiration regulates your thyroid. It's a big circle. So working on the adrenal thyroid complex by calming the body down, using deep breathing techniques, making sure you're oxygenating. And then for tinnitus, because of the electrical nature of the electrical nature of perception of the ear, of the hearing sense, use your electrical nutrients and lots of them. The B complex. Beyond Tangy Tangerine, zinc, 50 milligrams a day, must have for all tinnitus sufferers. Hang on, Grace. I'll finish up when we come back from our break. I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side on the Genesis Communication Network. We'll be back right after this. Okay, we are back on The Bright Side. I'm Pharmacist Ben. 844-236-6010 is our number. We're talking to Grace in Miami Beach. Grace, you there?
Yes, I am.
So did everything I say make sense so far?
Yes.
Here, let me just say one last thing. One last thing. You got to look for other things going on. And nobody just has tinnitus. Tinnitus is associated with bodily breakdown and will show up in other parts of the body. And in order to really pin it down, you got to look for other symptoms. Nobody just has tinnitus. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So then the hearing loss is, if I'm, of course, make my diet better because I know it's not as good as it should be, would that hearing come back?
Yes, absolutely. Now, wait. I don't know the significance of the damage, so it may be that the damage, there's some kind of damage that will take too long for it to recover, for it to repair itself, and you may only have 30 years left or 40 years left. It may take 50 years, but you can turn it around. Whether you have a complete recovery or not, I can't say because I don't know how much damage is there. But it can reverse itself. Absolutely, yes. It's an inflammatory condition. The inflammation will go down. The body repairs itself. Cells turn over. It's part of the nature. It's in the body's nature to repair. So yes, it can begin to reverse.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay, good deal. Good to talk to you, Grace. Thank you. Okay, 844-236-6010. By the way, one of the causes of tinnitus is, one of the, I won't say causes of tinnitus, but one of the diseases, so-called disorders that's associated with tinnitus is called Meniere's disease. So some of you guys may have heard of it. Meniere's disease is the colloquial name, but the real name for Meniere's disease is idiopathic endolymphatic hydrops. Yes, that's right. That's Meniere's disease, idiopathic endolymphatic hydrops. What that basically means is you got poison in your lymph, and we don't know why. Or basically, you got a hearing problem caused by a dirty lymph, endolymphatic, and we don't know why, idiopathic. Basically, what they're telling you is it's an inflammatory condition, Meniere's disease, and they don't know what's causing it. Well, I'm telling you what's causing it. Something's getting in the blood. Something's getting in the lymph. Something is getting inside the system to create toxicity. But you know what? It's not quite that simple. It's pretty simple, but not quite that simple. I just read an article here. Dying cells regulate the immune system. How do you like that? Nature Immunology. This is an article published online in the journal Nature Immunology yesterday. Dying cells regulate the immune system. You guys, that is so important. I'm going to take this call, and then I'll tell you why. We've got a guy waiting on here for a while here. Grant in Texas. What's up, man? Welcome to the bright side. Grant. Did I get Grant here? Let me get Grant. Grant, you there?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
I hear you okay now. What's going on, Grant?
All right. Well, I'm 32.
Yes.
I currently take up to 55 supplements daily, most of them whole food supplements.
Are you strategic about it? Do you have a strategy for doing it?
Well, I take them in the morning.
No, not how you take them. Not how you take them. No, Grant, not how you take them. Do you have a strategy for the ones you're taking?
Oh, I got you. Yeah, well, I have a rare calcium deficiency. I take some for that, and I take some for my high blood pressure, and then I take another set for my, just anxiety and, / depression.
Okay, gotcha. So, okay, that makes sense. Now, how can I help you? What's your question?
Well, my question is mostly concerning the high blood pressure. I've been keeping a diary for the last 6 months.
Nice. And what are you finding out? What kind of information are you finding?
Well, my diastolic number hasn't really changed much. It's been staying around like one. It started off at 135, and then it actually went down to around 125 on average.
Okay.
And my top number went from like 190 to down to like on average like 165.
And the other 165, did you say?
Right. That's where I'm at right now on average.
That's pretty high. And then what's the lower number?
It's averaging around 120.
Okay, here's the dealio. Here's the deal. I don't like the whole food supplements are great, and they're really clever, and they're really, theoretically a good idea, but you don't get anywhere near enough nutrients in them. Because it's just not, especially the electrical nutrients, especially the B's and the C's. So while it's all cute and wonderful to use whole food, and I get the logic, if you really want to dose yourself with some powerful doses, and it really is about the doses when it comes to these things, you can't get it from whole food supplements. Sorry to say.
Okay.
However, they're good. I don't want to tell you that the logic is not right. So what you want to do is you want to start using some of the electrical nutrients in greater abundance. This is what I would be doing. The B complex in much higher concentrations than you're going to get in a whole food supplement. That would be your Beyond Tangy Tangerine. Also, there's an extremely important relationship between sugar and cortisol and anxiety and blood pressure. So keeping your sugar down and using nutrients that support sugar metabolism, best is just to restrict your intake of them. But you're going to also need nutrition for supporting the processing of those, and that's again your electrical nutrients. And then, not to say I'm not diminishing the importance of omega-3 fats, your ultimate EFAs, especially omega-3 fats, have a really important role to play in anti-anxiety. The omega-3 fats and DHA and EPA for the brain, for anxiety issues, for blood pressure issues, just ridiculously valuable. So that would be your ultimate EFAs, eating fish oil, that kind of thing. Vitamin E. Always do more vitamin E when you start supplementing with EFAs, as I was saying yesterday, but vitamin E also will help. However, this is the most important thing I'm going to tell you, okay? Everything I'm not marginalizing what I just said, but this is the most important thing, all right? Between anxiety and high blood pressure, you've got a classic case of a body in distress. So calming your body down is key. Now, the supplements are going to help. That's one of the reasons they're so valuable. But calming the body down through oxygenation, number one, is key. And number two, through any kinds of relaxation techniques that you can think of. That means hot water, hot tubs, hot showers, Reiki, massage, naps. We talk about this all the time. Anything you could do to calm the body down. As far as oxygen goes, practice slow, deep breathing. It's awesome. It sounds like you have a blood pressure cuff, and that's awesome because you can use biofeedback. All right, you can sit on the couch and see how doing things like deep breathing, for example, or when you wake up from a nap, or after you eat, you can see how all of these things affect your blood pressure. You follow me? And when your blood pressure spikes, that's incredibly valuable information. And when your blood pressure drops, likewise. So if you notice that your blood pressure drops when you're sitting on the couch, you can actually learn to control your breathing. I should say, you can learn to control your blood pressure by controlling your breathing when you're waiting in line at the bank. You can train yourself using these biofeedback techniques. You can see what bodily actions you're doing, what behaviors you're doing that affect your blood pressure, and you can train yourself to lower your blood pressure at will. That's called biofeedback. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to ask you, do you think there's any plaquing of the arteries going on?
Yeah, but it's nothing. Yeah, I'm sure there is. You're human.
I was consulting with a chiropractor, and they recommended Rena food for the kidneys and a liver.
Nonsense. Quote me on it. Have your chiropractor come on the air. We'll talk to him. You don't need any of these things. And I don't even know what that is. It's probably a supplement of some kind, right?
Yeah, it's another whole food supplement.
Yeah,
they say
dude.
You got a detox kidney.
No, you don't need it. You don't need it. You need the basics. And yes, you do have plaque in your artery because you're American. You're subsisting on the standard American diet. And your body's not designed to do that. Plaque is an inflammatory condition of the blood vessel, or the result of an inflammatory condition of the blood vessels. And that's just what happens to us as we get older. Is it significant enough to be causing your problems? Unlikely. Possible, of course, but unlikely. More than likely, at the age of 32, you're dealing with a chronic kind of stressful issue on the body. I would, just from the sound of it, Grant, I would say that it's partially what you're eating and what you're not eating, and partially your emotional and mental and spiritual aspects as well. You follow me?
I follow, yes.
Okay, so it's not only physical here. There's other dimensions. When you have high blood pressure, and yours is pretty high, and what was the other thing you were telling me? The anxiety issues. What's that's telling me is there's multiple dimensions of distress going on in the body, not just physiological, but also emotional, psychological, and mental, and those need to be addressed. And I don't talk about it anywhere near enough, but you know what? One day I'm going to do a show where I just talk about that. In fact, that should be my show, because that really is what it's about, you guys. We talk about vitamins and supplements and food, but it's spiritual, mental, and emotional first and foremost, and then it's physical. Now, can you induce these kinds of things by just depriving your body of nutrients and starving to death? Yes, obviously you can, but for most of us, the bulk of our distress, that's a key word, distress, because there's also eustress, which is good stress, EU stress. That's another distinction, by the way, distress versus eustress. The bulk of our distress is spiritual, mental, and emotional. I don't know how much clearer I could be. And I'm telling you this from seeing thousands upon thousands of patients, and me in my own life over the course of decades. I didn't mean to beat you up on that, Grant, but that's an important thing to consider.
I really don't want to take 55 supplements.
You don't need them. Get on the Healthy Start Pack. Start controlling your sugar. Practice your deep breathing techniques. Use spiritual, mental, and emotional strategies to relax the body and reduce distress. Thanks for your call, bro. Got to go. All right. I'm Pharmacist Ben. Thanks for listening. Please check out my skin health products at